Hey guys, how's it going? Matt Sardo, Monkeys Fighting Robots, and Amazing Spider-Man dropped today. Amazing Spider-Man 26, the big Zeb Wells issue dropped. It says one shall fall on the cover. Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about this. We're definitely gonna have to talk about this. Zeb Wells is the writer on this issue. John Romita Jr. is the penciler. Scott Hand is the inker. Marcio Menez and Eric Arciniega are the colorists, and Joe Caramagna is the letterer. Guys, so this is kind of a big issue because it was spoiled. And they came out with the announcement that said it was going to happen. So if you haven't read this issue yet, if you haven't read Amazing Spider-Man 26 yet and you don't want to spoil it for you, you might want to just stop watching this video because I'm going to talk about some spoilers that are happening in this issue. And I'm going to talk about what worked and what didn't work and how the whole issue played out. So here's your chance. Log off now because spoilers are coming. So my biggest gripe with this book, I don't even want to say gripe. What I want to say is I know everybody's going to be bashing this issue. And I've read this thing like 4 times. And I'm trying to find some redeeming qualities in it and trying to find how it pays off if the whole series goes through. And I'm just trying to find something to be like, okay, I see what you did here. This might have worked in a different light. This might have done something else, yada, yada, yada. But I just come back to this one word, and I come back to simple. This issue is very simple, and it's bothersome. And I've tried to tried to come in with an open mind and be like, okay, I didn't hear about the spoilers. I don't know what's going on. Like, I know this is gonna be a big issue because they've always said it was gonna be a big issue, but like, let's just walk in and see how it unfolds. And I watched, I read the book, and I'm flipping through the pages right now of how everything unfolds, and everybody pops in, and it has a slight grandiose feel that's just empty on the inside. And then that makes me very sad. And I got my notes here. Romita Jr. is just not a good fit for a very emotional issue where you're going to have the emotion like right on the face of people. Like Peter Parker is confronting somebody who passed away or somebody who died, and he's immediately there. And then you're going to have the reactions of all the heroes that are there right now. And Romita just isn't a good fit. And it's not his fault. It's not. I would never have put you in this position if I was in charge. That's what I'll say there. It maybe somebody with like a cleaner style than his, because again, like I said, you have multiple emotional moments where you have characters going back and forth, looking at each other. Panels are going back and forth, and things are happening, and emotions are happening, and they're just not getting conveyed. And then I started looking at the backgrounds and how things were layered and everything else, and I was like, oh man, I would have really redesigned this whole entire last 10 pages of this book, and just had it been cleaner, and maybe taken out some backgrounds, maybe just had everything in black or just different colors, just solid colors, and just brought those characters to the forefront. And maybe John's work would have worked then, because right at the end, there's a conversation between Mary Jane and Paul, and the backgrounds have kind of a little bit more muted and stuff, and the eyes are the center, and things are laid out better, where the way your eye looks at the panel and how things are unfolded, where like you were just stuck on the eyes of Paul, and you're stuck on the eyes of Mary Jane, and you can see emotion in those eyes. The way Paul's eyes are lit up by his glasses and everything is dark, like it's a solid focus there. And then Mary Jane's eyes are just watering, and you're focused right there, and it's just dead center. And you're really stuck on those 2 frames of Paul looking at Mary Jane, and Mary Jane like looking back with tears in her eyes. And then you have that hug, and you're like, okay, I can fill in the blanks of what's going on here. And those 3 panels are so solid. So Romita could have done it And if you look at these panels, like they're cleaner too. There's not a lot of cross hatching or anything that like will distract you. As if you go to the previous panels, I mean, like Peter's got some stuff going on with his face. Camilla Khan has some stuff going on with her face. Like just the angle that they used or he tried to use just is not a very flattering angle for Camilla Khan and just doesn't really convey the emotion of what's going on. Like Peter just really looks, you don't get his eyes. His eyes are super tiny in the panel. Same with her. It's like, and I'm looking at the panels here and like, it's not a focus. The eyes are not a focus, where if you go to the pages later, you have the eyes are the focus, and that's where it gets emotional. So we can break this down, and I'll flip through them, or I'll grab the two panels where you can just see their faces, and the eyes aren't the focus. It's all this dead space in the middle. That's the focus, and it becomes the focus because it has all this weird cross hatchings through it, and becomes very distracting. If it was just black, you'd be like, okay, this, that's how it'd be. But yeah, it's tough. It's really tough trying to go into this book with an open mind and then seeing the product, that how it unfolds, and just like, And the story is what really is tough, because there's a giant dragon that's going to kill the city, and very simple solution to get rid of the dragon. And then, I'm not a fan of Mary Jane. It wasn't a fan of Mary Jane and the kids and everything like that. But then like, there's a very simple solution for that. And that's annoying. Like I was annoyed that they were there, but I'm more annoyed at how they got removed. And so all these simple solutions have big consequences. And then also how they save Mary Jane is a very simple solution. And then, there's a huge consequences with Camilla Khan. And then you have the bad guy, and he's just like in the background, just wiped away because, he killed the wrong person, and like the demon kills him off. And like another very simple solution to solve the problem. Oh man. It's just, and then you have the FF, and you have Fantastic Four in here. And there's some dumb lines coming back and forth. And I really want to stay positive on this. I'm trying to stay as positive as possible. And so like the back and forth just doesn't, we're having an emotional issue. This is supposed to be an emotional issue, and the lack of emotion in it is really bothering, because Johnny and Peter are like friends. They used to be like best buddies. So the storyline could have taken a different place, where like Peter and Johnny could have had an emotional connection, and then things got ripped up and things are hurt, and feelings are, people actually have feelings. And it just doesn't work. And then also like you have the FF there when somebody dies, and like, and this is me being a stupid nerd, is being like, well, Mr. Fantastic didn't even try to do anything. Like, it's like you have one of the smartest people on the whole entire planet. He's like, well, whatever. Doesn't he have like something in his belt, utility belt, to be like, boom, boom, here, we could do this. Put a cryostasis, blah, blah. We'll figure it out, blah, blah. But no, it's just like, here we go. And then like the lead up to the death is in an alley. But it's not scary. It's just like, I'm going to be in an alley, and then like everything's bright and stuff. You could have had like a very cool dark alley slasher moment happen. But all the stuff kind of happens after the event. And then the event is not even a full splash page, which really bothers me. Like it should have been like a full, but then like, it's like, there it happens. And then they show it like inverted in colors. And then they show it like afterwards. And I'm like, okay, you could have spread this out. It could have been spread out. It could have been laid out way better. And then everything else is after that. You're like, okay, No, maybe, yes, no. I don't know. I know that I have to cover this book because it's such an important issue. I just wish that I was able to find some more positive things to say about it, because that's not what I want this channel to be. I really want this channel to be like celebrating comic books. And this is a moment where I'm like, okay, the storytelling doesn't fit the artwork. The artwork doesn't fit the storytelling, and then the overarching story doesn't really hit all the marks it could have. I mean, if you had a different, I don't know, it needed to just be planned out better. You could have had, I mean, again, it's Amazing Spider-Man. You could have pushed this to 2 issues. You could have had 26 be like, okay, this is the end all be all, build up. And then maybe even could have like had the death at the last page. And then 27 could have been the aftermath that they had in this book, where then like there's other stuff. Or there could have been, it just could have, it never crescendos. It never goes, the beats don't go bing, 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 boom. And I'm like, and I don't know if that's because the story was spoiled for me, or, it definitely some of it is because of the story, but it's also because of how things are laid out, how things are colored, how things are presented. And it just doesn't hit the mark. Yes. So the title of this is going to be like, was it worth it? And it's not worth it. It's not. I mean, like I would definitely be like, hey guys, take this back to the drawing board and let's try to amp up the emotion in this book. Let's try to really get you reeling for these heroes and really right behind them on the edge of your seats. And then we pull the rug out from underneath them and you're like, because it starts with a flashback and it starts now. Like it just doesn't like, and I'm like, wait, this is now? I could have swore I just read the last book and then we weren't now here. So like I'm disjointed to begin with. It's just, I mean, I don't know. People will talk about this book and people will bash it. And I don't want to do that. I want to figure out how we could have made it better. And I think like it just needed to be like reworked and remassaged with them trying to hit certain markers in the story and building up the fear in the story. Because they do some things in this book that are downright vilely evil. And you could have really played on that and had me bawling by the end of the book. Maybe it's perspective. Maybe this book should have all been from Mary Jane's point of view, where she just sees everything go around and then she witnesses the murder, and then she witnesses her kids. She witnesses her kids ripped from her. It could just perspective on the story could have completely changed how we engaged with it, because we're just bystanders watching everything go by. And I think this really could have used a different point of view to where we were really in the story and to really emotionally like rip my heart out. Because I mean, like, the world's been shitty. The world is super shitty sometimes. And we've all been part of it. And we've all witnessed it. Like, we know what shitty feels like. And this book could have been, us empathizing with people just trying to win the good fight and just fucking getting shit on. Like, we want to support our heroes. We want to rally for our heroes. We just need to be given a chance.